Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of New York Giants Corner here at T2T Network. It is a beautiful Wednesday night, at least here in northeastern New Jersey. I hope everyone's doing great. Actually, today is what? Is today the first day of summer officially? June 21st? That's amazing. We're halfway through the year officially. Absolutely amazing. But it has been a wonderful offseason for our New York football Giants. It was a wonderful 2022. It's going to be a wonderful 2023. I'm going to give you the reasons why. And I'm going to give you the reasons why as well, that it's not just going to be a great 2023. It's going to be a great next 5 years, at least, with this team. And I'm really excited to talk about. And I want to give a shout out to my boy Shay, who runs, I'm sorry, I live on a busy street, so sometimes you'll hear traffic. Want to give a shout out to my boy Shay, who is the host of our new LA Rams show. It's called Ramsaholic, and it actually airs Wednesday mornings. So episode number 5 aired this morning, and I got the idea for today's content, feeling optimistic about the future of this team. Got it from him because he did the same exact thing for his Ram show this morning. So I was looking for something to sink my teeth in, and this was perfect because I am very optimistic about this team. I'm dying to talk about it. The reasons why I am just filled with boundless optimism for this team. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not a homer, guys. I'm not a homer. Um, I am, if anything, I tend to be harder on my teams that I follow, regardless of the sport, than I am on other teams. I tend to be more critical. I don't think harshly. I'm not harsh. I think I'm very, very fair. But I'm also very much like, I tend to be let's see it before I get optimistic. But 2022 for me was a see it year. I saw it. I saw so many good things that we had to overcome that we hadn't been able to do in a long time. Injuries, lack of overall, lack of talent. Not saying we were talentless, but we were lacking in talent compared to other teams who were in our tier or better. Lacking depth and lacking experience. We're still a young team. 2022 was not a fluke, guys. It was not a fluke. And so I'm happy to get into that. First, let me get the bells and whistles out of the way. If you can, hit that like and subscribe button. Give us that five-star Apple review. We really appreciate it. Again, if you're watching the video, please just hit the like button. And if you can, subscribe to T2T or Toilets to Titles. Greatly appreciate it. And if you got 30 seconds to burn, 5-star Apple review really helps us out a lot. Where you can find our videos: Apple Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, and Spotify. You can find us everywhere. Our new website, toiletstotitles.com, it has all of our videos, articles. We started off as strictly fantasy football a few years ago. Now, of course, we are big time fantasy football, but basically anything to do with football, we cover. We cover fantasy football, like I said, NFL football. We're up to 5 team-centric shows now. We got the Giants, Cowboys, Rams, Jaguars, and Packers. And so we'll be adding more and more as time goes on. But we cover NFL news in general, and also NFL draft. We cover the NFL draft. We did a great job the 2023 draft. I'm telling you right now, you want to watch this next year. If you didn't watch this year, next year draft coverage, you want to watch it. You want to get through Toilets and Titles. Why? Because we had boots on the ground at the Senior Bowl, boots on the ground at the Combine, and we had boots on the ground at the draft, and we were getting inside information from the draft. And as a matter of fact, we were getting the picks. We were getting most of the picks, or at least half the picks for day 1 and 2 of the draft. We were getting picks like a minute before they were announced on stage, and we were tweeting them out. We were giving that information here live on our own draft coverage show. So not BSing you, absolute truth. It was so impressive. We have partnered a few months ago. We partnered with the CFB Nation. It's the College Football Nation. So it's the College Football Nation and Toilets and Titles combined. We make up T2T Network. The College Football Nation, as their name indicates, they cover strictly college football, and that team, they do a fantastic job of covering college football. If you want to learn more about college football, if you already love college football, follow those guys because they've got a passion for it, so much knowledge. I'm so impressed. I learned so much from them, and I love being partnered up with these guys. So if they cover college football, once those players start entering the draft, Toilets and Titles takes over from there. If you go to patreon.com/Soils and Titles, you can learn how you can further support our show. And I want to say thank you to our current Patreon supporters. We appreciate you appreciating us. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Gilded. There's an app called Gilded. Toils of Titles and the CFB Nation. We have our own chat in Gilded. We're probably up to around 140 members in our Gilded chat. So you want to talk football? That's what we do all day long. Any type of football, college football, NFL football, your team, your NFL team, fantasy football, especially fantasy football. During the NFL season, fantasy football season, you have any questions about looking for advice on fantasy football? Get into our Gilded chat. You're going to get tons of great advice. We are loaded up to the hilt with fantasy football professionals. You're going to get a lot of great insight and advice in there. So reach on out to me or Toils to Titles, or any members. So there's like 15 to 20 of us who make up Toils to Titles. Reach out to any of us, and we'll get you in the Gilded chat. So that's that. We got the bells and whistles out of the way. Okay, guys, let's get into the nitty gritty, the details over here. Why I'm so optimistic about this team, not just in 2023, excuse me, but going forward as well. We're going to start off with the front office, because the front office and the coaching staff, because that is where it all starts from. If you don't have quality talent, quality minds in the front office and the coaching staff, it all nothing else really matters. You can have talent. You're only going to get, so you can be loaded up with talent on the field. You can win games. You can go to the playoffs. You're only going to go so far. You're not going to win Super Bowls. You're not going to be a consistent contender without really good coaching and a good GM. And we're so fortunate that we have, a young GM. Just two seasons in now, two off seasons in, and I can't say enough about how Joe Shane, our new general manager, has handled everything in terms of the limited salary cap, virtually no salary cap he had to work with last year. What he was able to, the holes he was able to fill with the limited money that he had, the great draft class. I'm still super optimistic about that. I think last year's draft class is going to take a huge step forward this year. Remember, there are quite a few players in the mid and late rounds that our front office and coaches were very high on that were injured. Quite a few guys that were missed the season because of injury. You look at Wan'Dale Robinson. You look at Azudu, who I'm still very high on, a guard on the offensive line. I'm still very high on. He had limited play last year, but he was also injured quite often last year. Beavers, the inside linebacker, who looked like he had the inside position to get that starting job last year. He's not going to be Bobby Okereke, but I think he's going to be a solid run stuffer for us. So anyway, I don't want to get too into the weeds on that. Point being that Shane has done 2 draft classes and 2 off seasons. He's done a great job, and he's accumulated a really good coaching staff with Brian Dable, and also the front office. I like where it's headed too. I like is it Brandon Brown? I think is the assistant GM's name, who he hired, who he plucked from the Eagles staff last year. It's not like I know all that much about him, but I've heard him interviewed a few times, and seems like a really bright young guy. He's like 34 years old. Can't even imagine being 34 years old and the assistant GM of a football team. That's incredible. But I love I love what he's accumulating in the front office, and I love the relationship he has with Dable. I mean, talk about symmetry. Talk about being on the same page with your head coach, who was, rightfully so, head coach of the year last year, and at least in the NFC, Brian Dable, that is, and deservedly so. He did a fantastic job with a Giants team that few people expected much from, and these two are on the same page, and they're not going anywhere for a long time. This isn't going to be like a Joe Judge situation where we were very optimistic about Joe Judge, and I think rightfully so after his first year. I think a lot of things went right. They were only a 6-10 team, but I think they were only 6-10 talent, to be honest with you, for the most part, that year, Joe Judge's first year. But it all crashed and burned real quickly the following year. That's not going to happen with Dable. And it's not just Dable. You look at Kafka, who he plucked from Kansas City staff, who's already, interviewing for head coaching positions this year. I wasn't surprised he didn't get them. I mean, he was only an offensive coordinator for 1 year. I wouldn't have hired him either. I think he's just too experienced to be a head coach at this point. But it just goes to show how highly thought of around the league Kafka is already. And he's teamed up with Brian Dable. I mean, it's like a match made in heaven. You've got that dangerous Buffalo Bills offense that Dable headed. The schemes from there, the line of thinking from from that franchise, and then you've got Kafka from Kansas City. It's wonderful. It really is wonderful. So these guys aren't going anywhere for a while. Kafka might be gone next year or the year after that. You know what? You got Dable. And if he's going to take over the plays himself, play calling himself, I'm cool with that. If he's going to hire someone else, to replace Kafka, I'm cool with that. In Dable, I trust right now. But you look at the defensive side of the ball too, with Wink Martindale. I mean, how fortunate are we that Baltimore moved on from him? And I don't blame Baltimore. He'd been the DC for like 10 years. I think Harbaugh just wanted to move on. They just moved on from their OC as well. So he's looking to go for younger minds, new way of thinking. He wants to do things differently. And I appreciate that about head coach Harbaugh from Baltimore. It's cool, but we lucked out getting Wink Martindale. He's been a perfect fit for the staff, perfect fit for this defense. And what Martindale said recently was that it sounds like he's not going to be looking for any more head coaching jobs. I think the ship has probably sailed on that. He's not old, but he's older, and usually teams are looking for either very young head coaches now, with new lines of thinking, or they're looking for head coaches who already have like a real proven track record of success. And so I think Martindale is stuck in the middle there. And I think he probably realizes that. And what he said recently was something to the effect of, if he's ever like out of the job as the Giants defensive coordinator, it means that he's retiring. So like this is pretty much his last stop. So it doesn't sound like we have to worry about him going anywhere. Yeah, you're going to have assistant coaches that are going to move on to other jobs, coordinators, head coaches, but that's cool. When you got Dable and probably Martindale around for the long term, I'm talking about stability and quality stability. That's something this team hasn't had since the Coughlin years. When we had Coughlin and Kevin Gilbride, and I know most Giants fans probably didn't like Kevin Gilbride. I disagree with you. The Giants' offense was awesome under Gilbride. It was when the offensive line went to crap, when everything else started going to crap. But we had a really good coaching staff for the most part under Coughlin, and we're going to have that for a while under Dable. It's not going to go anywhere away, anytime soon. We might lose a Kafka. He's going to be replaced. Dable will find another Kafka, or he'll take over the play calling. I'm not worried about that stuff. So, I mean, just what they've achieved over the past two off seasons, with a quality 2022 season sandwiched in between, how can you not be happy about that? So, a lot of people think that last year was some sort of fluke. Giants were lucky. It was a weak schedule. Let me say something to you. This Giants team in the past, for the previous 10 years, most of it, they were the team that every other team was lucky to play on an easy schedule. We were the team that, and last year, all other teams, even the Jaguars, who people weren't expecting much from, were probably licking their chops looking at playoffs. Baltimore Ravens, Green Bay Packers, Tennessee Titans. We had some really good quality wins last year. And I realized that, a lot of the teams we played, like, Tennessee and Green Bay, didn't wind up being as good as people expected. But hey, when we beat Baltimore, we beat them when they had Lamar, straight up. We beat Jacksonville when Jacksonville, was still, I think they had lost more games than they won at that point. It was early in the season, but they were playing very, very well, and the games they lost were very close games. Uh, Listen, we actually had like a modicum of health, of being healthy last year. There were players that got injured, like Sterling Shepard is an annual thing, and there were some other players we lost to injury as well. Like we were missing Ojolari most of the year, but for the most part, we got pretty lucky. Our most important players actually stayed healthy last year. That's Jones, Barkley, Andrew Thomas, even Kayvon Thibodeau. He was injured early on, but the rest of the year he was healthy. Uh, we did fine. We were, even with injuries, Adoree Jackson, McKinney, we held it together when we made the playoffs. That is something we wouldn't have done in years past. That means something. That really means something. To be able to stick it through the entire 17 game season now in probably the toughest division of football last year, and still make the playoffs. And people, detractors will point out, say, well, we only had one divisional win last year. Yeah, you want more than one divisional win. That was also the toughest division in football last year. And we only had one win, four losses, and a tie. We kicked the crap out of every other team in every other division, and we still made the playoffs. People, they'll look at like the Chargers or whatever, whoever else made the playoffs, and Jaguars. Nothing against the Jaguars. I love the way they're trending. I like that team. I like the Jags. Um, but nothing against them. But who the hell do they play in the division? Look at Minnesota. Who the hell do they play in the division? The division sucked. AFC South sucked. The Jaguars went to the playoffs. NFC West, the AFC West was not anything great. Outside of Kansas City last year, the Raiders didn't live up to billing. The Broncos certainly didn't live up to expectations. And yet here the Chargers. The Chargers had injuries too. Herbert, as an elite quarterback he is, willed that team basically to the playoffs. But they didn't have to go through they had to go through one team, and that was the Chiefs. They didn't have to go through both the Cowboys and the Eagles. Even the fourth place team in our division last year, Washington, won 8-1. So we had to run a gauntlet to get in the playoffs last year, and that was with a lot of holes, guys. That was with a lot of holes that I feel Shane and Dable were able to fill by wisely using the money that we had. We had a good amount of money this offseason. They didn't spend it stupidly. They spread it out wisely. We got Bobby Okereke, traded for Darren Waller. Didn't give up, anything major to get Waller, but it's like a $10 million salary. It's not cheap, but it's not super expensive either. And they got depth on the defensive line. This was great. And you look what we did in the draft. It was wonderful. I mean, just quality players. This year's draft is potential home run draft. I mean, we have to see how it, on paper it was phenomenal. It's an A+ in my book. And you have to see how the players develop over time, of course. But what more can you ask for in this past draft we just had? So these guys are going to be around. This is stability. And it feels so good. And it's like reason number one why I'm starting this off with. It all comes down from the head down, from Shane and Dable down. These two guys are the foundation that this team is going to be built on. So I'm super optimistic about that. All right. Next is going to be the offensive line. Let me check out the comments over here. Justin, hey, Justin, checking in. Hey, buddy, looking forward. By the way, Justin and me and a bunch of other people, this Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have another fun day draft, and this time we are drafting superheroes, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Justin's hosting the show. He's the host of the fun day draft shows, and this one's going to be really great. You should check out the one we did a few weeks ago, like a month ago. It was on pro wrestling, and we're drafting pro wrestlers. It was a lot of fun. It was a really, really good time. Definitely check out the superhero one we're going to do this Friday. Shay checking in. Shay, like I said, hey, man, Shay's got a great show, Ramsaholic. They're only up to episode 5. It's a new show. Shay, thank you for the idea for this topic for tonight. Really appreciate it. Shay did it for his show early this morning. Ramsaholic, check it out. Shay does a fantastic job, and he is killing it with the views and the likes and bringing in the subscribers. Really appreciate it, Shay. He is just a quality Rams fan. He's super optimistic about his Rams team, and he should be because they got a great head coach. You got a great head coach, you're always going to be in good shape. Justin, I think Banks and Schmitz will offer reasons to be optimistic. Justin, 100%, and I'm going to be touching on those guys shortly. Nate Wallen, big time. Nate, Nate says Minnesota stinks. Nate is one of our in-house Packers fan, and he's got a new Packers show called Lambeau Speaks, and I forgot when it airs. Nate, if you're still there, let me know. Let the viewers know when Lambeau Speaks airs. I think it's on Thursdays, but don't quote me on that. I don't want to be giving fake news out there. Nate also says, here's 5 reasons to be excited. Danny Dimes, ding, ding, ding. I'm saving him for almost last. I love Danny Dimes. Danny Dollars, Daniel Jones, Saquon, and Dable. Exactly. Nate should be doing the show with me. I agree with you, Nate. My superhero 1.01 is a Jolly Joe Clark. His superheroes having a soothing voice of an angel. I thank you, Justin, so much. So that means Justin's going to be drafting me in our superhero show this Friday night. Pick 101. That's right. I've got my superpowers, baby. More than you know, too, Justin. More than you know. Drops Thursday at noon. Right Coast time. Okay, so Nate is saying the Lambeau Speaks, which is one of our newest NFL team shows. Again, it's a Packer show. It's called Lambeau Speaks. It drops every Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. Check it out. It is awesome. Him and Bobby are a great team. And listen, I love listening to people who are real fans of their teams, who are really knowledgeable too. I can listen to that all day long. Check it out. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it, my friend. All right, so let's move on. Reason number 2, the offensive line. we should be optimistic about offensive line and about the offensive line. And here's why. All right, Andrew Thomas is already playing. What is he in his going into his fourth year? I think he's going in his fourth year. Is already playing at an all-pro level. He's not going anywhere. He is going to be our left tackle. He will be retained. He's going to be the highest paid left tackle soon. And but they're going to pay for him, rightfully so. And he's going to be out there left tackle for the next 10 years. But he's not the only one. He's not the only one. He is the anchor for this offensive line, and he will be for the next 10 years. I am optimistic about Evan Neal. I know he had a bad rookie year last year, but Evan Neal reminds me so much of Andrew Thomas in that I never felt like Evan Neal was as talented as Andrew Thomas coming out of college, but he was up there. He's very, very talented. Think about Evan Neal too. So I want you to remember most players, especially at some positions like offensive tackle, whether it's left tackle or right tackle, it doesn't matter. Same thing with cornerback with the CB position on the defensive side of the ball. Usually going to take a year to get adapted to the NFL speed and the power. These guys are usually like 22, 21 years old when they're coming out of college, and they're going up against 25, 26-year-olds who are bigger, stronger, and faster than anyone they faced in college. It is going to take a while. And you have a lot of talented defensive ends you're going to be going against, experience, stunts, doubles, stuff like that. And you're going to be like in a turnstile. Okay. Also, Evan Neal switched from he was playing left tackle for Alabama. He had to go to right tackle this offseason. He's going to be playing right tackle going forward. It's like a mirror. Obviously, it's the right side versus the left side. Your legs are going to work differently. You got to plant differently. Things you have to do differently. You have to think differently because you used to think, your body is used to going, from the left side of the line. Now you got to move from the right side of the line. It's different. Evan Neal strikes me as very much a professional like Andrew Thomas in that he's a good kid, good young guy, good young man, highly intelligent, high football IQ, takes his craft seriously, works his ass off. This offseason, he was working with, I forgot who it was, but was a retired offensive lineman, might have been a future former Pro Bowler. I don't remember. But he was working one-on-one this offseason to improve himself. And he's known as a guy who works really hard all the time. So I'm really not that worried about Evan Neal. I think he's going to be fine. Honestly, if worse came to worse, you can always put him at guard. He'll succeed at guard. But he's going to be the right tackle, and he's going to be fine. I don't expect me playing like Andrew Thomas, Pro Bowl level this year. But I think you're going to see a nice jump in Evan Neal's talent and skill set this year. Nice jump. Again, he's not going to play like a Pro Bowler, but I think you're going to see a nice improvement with Evan Neal this year. So you got going forward for a long time now, you're going to have the two anchors on the offensive line. And in the middle, you're inserting JMS, John Michael Schmitz. What a steal in round number 2. Listen, I don't know if he's ever going to play at a Pro Bowl level. That would be great if he can. I'd be surprised if he doesn't have at least 1 or 2 Pro Bowls in him throughout the course of his career. All right, barring injury. I wouldn't be surprised. At the very least, you're going to roll JMS out there for like the next 10 to 12 years, and you're not at center, and you're not going to have to worry about anything. You're going to get quality starts week in, week out. So you're going to have your two ends the two tackles in Andrew Thomas, Evan Neal, and you're going to have John Michael Schmitz in the center. I think the guard positions are going to shake out just fine. And I think I'm not going to go into the guards too much because I want to move on. I don't want to make this episode too long. But I like the young players that we have there. I'm sure next year they're going to add more competition through the draft in the interior offensive line, specifically the guard positions. I have no doubt. But I'm kind of enthusiastic about some of the young guys we have. I thought Bredesen showed a lot of improvement last year. I do like the athleticism and strength of Azudu. He was a raw player out of University of North Carolina last year. I am really excited about this guy. Flashed a lot. He also showed that he needs to improve on his pass protection. But man, run blocking, this dude was nasty, and he's fast. He's athletic and he's strong. Just raw. That's all. So, but I am excited about him. And even Lemieux, I haven't given up on Shane Lemieux. I thought Shane Lemieux was looking very good, last summer in preseason. He was looking very good. Unfortunately, he got injured, and he was injured pretty much the entire year last year. But Before that, he showed a lot because he in Lemieux's rookie year, he showed a lot in the run game, and he was horrible in the pass protection. He was very good in the run game. And last year, at least in preseason, I realize it's preseason, but it still gives reason for optimism because at least you're seeing a lot of improvement in pass protection in preseason. It's only preseason, but still you're seeing the improvement. So, and Lemieux is another guy who's known to be a hard worker. So, I don't know if these guys are going to be starting guards next year, you know, uh, but for this year, I'm optimistic with them. I really, really am. And like I said, once you get the offensive tackles and the center straightened out, I think everything else is going to fall into place with the offensive line. Now, do I think it's going to be like a top 10 unit, the offensive line this year? No, but I think they're going to take a nice jump forward this year to be at least being decent. Last year, like they actually, it's funny. I know, I think they were again one of the lowest rated offensive lines, maybe like 30 or 31 out of 32, last year. And they did, let up a bunch of sacks, even though Daniel Jones's pocket presence and awareness was very much improved last year. The offensive line, PFF, they were, they ranked very poorly outside of Andrew Thomas. It didn't pass the eye, according to my eye test, they were a hell of a lot better than they'd been in years. But I think a lot of that had to do with Daniel Jones and his vastly improved pocket presence. But there's a lot there to work with, and there's a lot of good young talent to be really, really excited about. And I think that offensive line is going to take a nice jump forward this year. It's not going to be elite. They're not going to be the Eagles. Uh, they're going to be, but I think they're going to be at least pretty decent, like mediocre, like middle of the pack, which would be a nice jump. I think they can do it. I really do. And I don't think it's a stretch. And again, I tend to be more critical of my players and my team than other teams. And if I'm believing that, if I think there's real reason for optimism there, you should too. I'm not saying write it in stone, but if I'm feeling optimistic about this offensive line, I think it's okay for you too as well. I give you the okay. Joe gives you the okay. All right, let's move on. Reason number three, the wide receiving core is going to get better and better from here on out. Just like I feel with the offensive line. The funny thing is with the offensive line, I think that the talent, the raw talent is actually there. With the wide receiving core, I don't really feel like the raw talent is really there yet. What I love right now is the depth that they've been able to accumulate. We actually, if Sterling Shepard doesn't make the team or if he is injured again, for example, well, we got Paris Campbell, we got Crowder, we have Colin Johnson, who was looking like the best wide receiver in training camp last year and preseason before he went down with an ACL. And the dude's like 6'4". He's kind of like, what we wanted Kenny Galladay to be like. That's what Colin Johnson was at. That's how he was performing last offseason. So I don't know if he's going to make the team because he has, along with many other players in the Giants, is coming back from a torn ACL. But I'm really high on that dude. But anyway, you got Isaiah Hodgins, who was fantastic for the Giants last year. You got Darius Slayton coming back, and again, he'll never be a wide receiver one, but I think Slayton is a quality wide receiver three. And I think Hodgins maybe at best could be a quality wide receiver two. Maybe he's another quality wide receiver three. Paris Campbell, great inexpensive signing with a lot of upside for this guy. He can play all over the field. He's going to play a lot of slot. He can play on the outside. He's going to be getting the ball handed to him too. He's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. I'm really excited about it. You got Jamison Crowder. Wan'Dale Robinson will be back at some point this year. Don't expect too much from Wan'Dale this year. He's coming back from a torn ACL. Yes, he's probably going to be on the field at some point. It's usually not until the second year back where a player is really back to being themselves. I'm just warning you, okay? I'm just warning you. And we got in Jalen Hyatt, who I think I still mentioned, who's going to be raw. He went to the third round for a reason, okay? He is raw, but there's a lot of upside with this guy. And I do think there's wide receiver one ceiling with Jalen Hyatt. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not expecting that in his career, but I think his legit floor is being a serious weapon in this arsenal. Um, I do think he's going to stretch the field along with Darren Waller. But look what we're working with this year. Just this year, Hodgins, who really showed a lot last year. Darius Slayton, who's always had a nice rapport with Daniel Jones. And again, do you want like a true wide receiver one? Of course, I'm going to get to that in a second. But look what we have to work with right now. It's already better than it's been, certainly last year, this wide receiving core, and probably the year before that. Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, um, Wandale Robinson when he comes back. I'm just this is the floor. Going forward, this is the floor. I can only see us getting better in the wide receiving core. Who knows? Maybe we sign a DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think that's really going to happen, but there is definitely room for improvement. But we've already improved. We've improved the depth of this wide receiver unit. So yeah, do we need to level up? Yeah, we need to level up, but we're going to. I have no doubt we will. We will next year. Through the draft or free agency. I have no doubt that we will. But we've already leveled up the depth and the quality on this wide receiving core. It's not going down, guys. It's only going up from here. That's my point, is that it's only going up from here. And I'm excited to see what Dable and Kafka have in store with this wide receiving core. Again, this is not an elite wide receiving core. I'm not saying it, but this is our new floor, which is a hell of a lot better than the floor we used to have for this wide receiving core. When at least one third of the wide receiving core going into the season would be guys you never even heard of. Okay. And as the year went on, we'd have injuries like Sterling Shepard or whoever, and you'd get guys off the street you really never heard of. We're not it's not happening, guys. Unless we go through like 4 injuries in this wide receiving core, you're not going to be seeing that this year. So the starters this year, the guys like the 6 or 7 wide receivers that make the team, are going to be names that you are familiar with. It's an amazing feeling as a Giants fan. That's like an incredible success. That's how low the bar has been for so long. So that's why I'm really excited about this wide receiving core, is that the floor has already greatly increased with this wide receiving core, and it's only going to get better from here. All right, let's move on to my man, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is only going to get better and better. Daniel Jones is finally in the second year of, well, listen, he's going to have a second year in the same offense. Yes, it's true. He did have a second year with Joe Judge and Jason Garrett, and that looked like crap. And no, I don't put it all on Daniel Jones. Everyone was to blame, not just Daniel Jones bore some of that responsibility, but the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the lack of talent, the players there was already lack of talent around Daniel Jones on the offensive line, the receiving core going into the season. Fully healthy, there was a lack of talent. Okay. And then guys are always getting injured. And here was a young quarterback going from head coach to head coach, from OC to OC. And, you know, it's not easy to improve. It's amazing that Daniel Jones threaded every single needle he needed to thread last year in order to get that extension that he got, which I'm glad he got it. I would have given him to him too, because I believe in him. I believe in him. So glad he is our franchise quarterback. You might doubt me. That's totally cool. People disagree with that. It's totally cool. I get you. I get you. I really do. But I just feel so strongly that fellow Giants fans, um, I think you're going to be really happy with Daniel Jones, this year and going forward. He's only going to get better because we got a really good coach. We got really good coaching. We got stability there. You got stability all around him for once. The offensive line is going to get better. The receiving core is going to get better. Saquon is going to be back. I hopefully not just for this year. Hopefully he is around long term. So I love Saquon. And I really want him to be here. And yes, every quarterback needs elite players. Daniel Jones doesn't have elite wide receivers. It's not like we've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Saquon to think about, okay, who are we going to pay? We don't have any big time wide receivers to play. Even Darren Waller's on a completely affordable contract of like $10 million a year. So you got to keep Saquon. He's a star player. I love that dude, and I want him here. But people make this false argument, about like, oh, you had to either keep Saquon or Daniel. Don't keep one. And of course, you're going to keep Saquon because he's a proven superstar. You keep both. It's stupid. It's a stupid argument. Every quarterback needs a star players, guys. Um, Daniel Jones is only going to get better and better. I know there are quite a few people who, even in our fan base, think that, oh, maybe he'll take a step back next year. No, he's not, guys. No, he's not. Everything that was wrong in his game, or everything that needed improvement since his rookie year, he's improved upon. Everything. Everything he's improved upon. And wait till you see his deep ball accuracy this year. He is accurate. He throws a beautiful deep ball. People say like, oh, we'll see how Daniel Jones does, with the deep ball. They want to spread they want to go more vertical this year. Thank God. That's music to my ears. I'm not worried about it because we have players who can do it. We've got Darren Waller, you got Campbell, and you got Jalen Hyatt. We'll see how Jalen Hyatt goes. He's raw. But Darius Slayton too. Darren Waller is going to open up so much in this offense. They're going to go vertical, and you're going to see Daniel Jones is a very, very good quality deep ball thrower. I have no doubt about that. He's already shown it. He's already shown it. He is not an inaccurate quarterback. But everything you'd want to see a young quarterback improve upon since his rookie year, like Daniel Jones, he's improved upon. Everything, everything, guys. Yes, he needs to improve, the touchdown, passes, the amount. I agree. I think last year, 15 passing touchdowns, guys. The coaching staff was playing within the limitations of the weapons around Daniel, and also the deficiencies on the offensive line. If it was a Daniel Jones problem, Shane and Dable would not have re-signed him to $40 million a year. Okay, they wouldn't have done that. If Daniel Jones was the problem, and maybe they're wrong, maybe I'm wrong, but if they felt that Daniel Jones was the problem, they never would have re-signed him to $40 million a year, guys. So maybe they're wrong, but maybe you should trust in Shane and Dable, and they believed in this guy so much that they signed him to an extension of $40 million a year. Daniel Jones is going to get better, and I have zero doubt about that. Better and better and better year in and year out. He just needed stability around him, like any other quarterback would need. You can be a veteran quarterback and have less stability than say like the year before or the year before that. But it's different when you're a veteran, when you've seen it all. You look at Eli. Eli was Eli won a Super Bowl his fourth year in Super Bowl 42. It was his fourth year. And he did well, at least in the playoffs. It was a rocky regular season, to be honest with you. He was okay. He had his really rough moments. He had his really good moments, but it was rocky. Playoffs, Eli was fantastic in that Super Bowl 42 run. Super Bowl 46, 4 years later, he was a completely different quarterback. That offense ran through him and his wide receivers like nobody's business. He put up almost 5,000 yards. He easily could have had in 2011 when they went on the Super Bowl 46 run. Eli easily could have been voted MVP. I think I went to Aaron Rodgers, and listen, Aaron Rodgers was awesome. Packers won 15-1. They were defending Super Bowl champions. I thought Eli actually kind of deserved that a little more, just because the team did make the playoffs, and that's when the defense was injured for most of the year. And the reason why they even got the playoffs was because of Eli and his wide receivers. My point being that by Eli's like seventh or eighth year, he had seen it all. He's playoff experienced. He'd seen everything that a defense can throw. He knew when to get rid of the ball. He knew the Gilbride offense inside and out. And yes, the receivers were very good in Super Bowl 46, just like they were in Super Bowl 42. But the offensive line was not nearly as good in Super Bowl 46 as it was in Super Bowl 42. They were still good enough in pass protection. They weren't nearly as good as in Super Bowl 42. That offensive line was much better in pass protection. Super Bowl 46, they were good enough. They were barely good enough. And that's when it started going downhill with the offensive line after Super Bowl 46. The running game wasn't nearly as good in Super Bowl 46. In Super Bowl 42, the Giants had one of the best running games that year. By Super Bowl 46, the running game was like ranked 30th or 31st in the entire NFL. And it wasn't really Bradshaw and Jacobs. They weren't the problem. It was the offensive line. They were not an effective run blocking unit. But Eli, by that point, he was a different quarterback. He was an excellent veteran. He was a top tier quarterback. He was elite, like he said going into that year, and everyone scoffed. He was an elite quarterback. It takes time to get that type of experience, guys. And Eli had stability around him throughout his entire, at least the first half of his career when he won 2 Super Bowls. He had at least, if not a very good, he at least had offensive lines that were good enough. He had a defense that can get the ball back. He was surrounded by quality wide receivers, 1, 2, and 3, every single year, at least the first half of his career. Actually, throughout pretty much all of his career, Eli had quality wide receivers. Daniel Jones never had that. So, you know, he has stability. I'm telling you right now, Daniel Jones is not taking any steps backwards. Expect to see a quantum leap this year in Daniel Jones and his production. Second year in this offense, it's going to be the same offense. He's working with great coaches. The wide receiving core has leveled up. It's at least in terms of depth. I know again we're lacking elite wide receivers. It's leveled up in terms of depth. Um, and you're going to see an improved offensive line. All this is going to help him take a quantum leap this year. He's going to be, I think, by the end of this year, Daniel Jones is going to be inarguably a top 10 quarterback by the end of this year, by the end of this 2023 season. Okay, reason number 5, the last reason. The defense is being loaded up with good quality young talent at all levels. Linebacker, we still need more talent there. All right. But look what we have on the defensive side of the ball. The defense wasn't great last year. It hasn't been great for a while. But for the past few years, including this year, it's very much bend don't break because quite frankly, we really didn't like have enough star power on defense. We didn't have enough on defense. Obviously the linebacker was atrocious. We had nobody at linebacker at all. We were counting on Darian Beavers to be our number one linebacker last year, and he got injured preseason, torn ACL. That's how bad the linebacking core was. But you look at what we have on the defensive line. You have an up and coming, stud in Kayvon Thibodeau, and I have no doubt about Kayvon Thibodeau. I've heard some criticism about Kayvon Thibodeau in his rookie season last year. I think it's unwarranted. I think he actually played very well last year for a rookie. For a rookie, I think he played very well. He flashed a decent amount. Definitely thinks he needs to improve upon, especially setting the edge. No doubt about it. But Kayvon Thibodeau is another hard worker, and he's another really smart player. And I have no doubt he's going to take a nice jump this year, and he's going to have a lot of really good long-term success for us. Azeez Ojulari, I've been critical of Azeez Ojulari because I'm so done with Giants injuries. It's not just Ojulari. I'm done with all the injuries for the past 10 years. I have no more. I am out of compassion. I am out of patience when it comes to injuries. Especially, listen, you tear your ACL or roll your ankle like has happened to Saquon. That's different. But when you're dealing with like quad or hamstring issues, I don't want to hear that crap. You're a young professional athlete. When you're not on the field, if you're on the sideline, stretch your legs out the entire time. Drink water, drink Gatorade, do whatever you got to do. But keep your hamstrings healthy. All right. You're a young professional athlete. I don't want to hear crap about hamstrings. All right. That's what upset me about Ojulari last year. And I think Ojulari is a quality player, smart player. I think he takes his job seriously. I'm just sick and tired of the injuries. Do whatever you have to take care of your legs. But Ojulari, he only played in spurts last year. But with the limited amount of snaps he played, I believe he had either the highest or one of the highest amount of pressures per play. So he can get to the quarterback. And if you're getting Thibodeau and Ojulari for a full season, knock on wood, if they're healthy for a full season in 2023, that is super exciting. And you look at the interior with Dexter Lawrence, who played at a Pro Bowl level last year, just got the nice big extension. Leonard Williams, who is, I think, still to this day underappreciated. Leonard Williams was playing with a neck burner almost the entire year last year. Okay. And he was still playing like 95% of the snaps. So was Dexter last year. All right. Because they had no depth. They had no depth on the interior last year. Now they have depth. They signed Hakeem Robinson, which was huge, huge. They signed Nacho, which is a nice signing. Listen, I don't think Hakeem Robinson's going to be a huge. He's going to be a difference maker. Okay, in that he is a quality player still. Maybe he's not the same player that he was in the past, but I think he's an upgrade from what we had. He's an upgrade from what we have, and I think going forward, the front office is going to make it a point through the draft to further strengthen the defensive line, the interior, and add more depth on the edges behind Thibodeau and Ojulari. So I'm looking forward to that. But look what we have to work with just right now. Thibodeau is young, Ojulari is young, Dexter Lawrence is young, and Leonard Williams, he's still young enough. I don't know if he's going to be around next year because of his contract. We'll see. But it gives me a lot of optimism for 2023. And just even the names, just Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, and Ojolari gives me a lot of confidence going forward for like the next 5 years. Okay. Let's look at the secondary. All right. Because I'll save the linebackers for last. I'm happy with what we did with Okereke, but that's pretty much all we've done with the linebackers. We still need more at linebacker. Let's move on to the secondary. Deontay Banks at pick number 24 this year in the first round was a friggin' steal. I would have been super happy with Emmanuel Forbes, who Washington actually took ahead of Banks. I don't think it's crazy because I like Banks a lot. I think Banks is going to be better than some of the other big names that were taken in the first round. I do. I love Emmanuel Forbes. I would have been happy with Forbes at pick number 25. If Banks was gone, but we got Banks, and this dude's got serious upside. Be patient. Again, rookie year cornerbacks. It's a hard transition. But I have a feeling he is going to ball out this year under the tutelage of Wink Martindale and Jerome Henderson, who is widely recognized as one of the best secondary coaches in the entire NFL, and he has been for a long time. So I am expecting, I'm expecting at least decent play for a rookie from Deontay Banks this year. But just going forward down the road, like there's so much to be excited with him. Adoree Jackson, what a year he had. Adoree Jackson was a great free agent signing for the Giants a few years ago. I think it was two years ago. He's had two really good quality seasons for the Giants. He's been basically a shutdown corner. He's been excellent. He's been excellent. Adoree Jackson's been everything you want in a corner, in an outside boundary corner, and he's been a leader. For these young players on defense, Adoree Jackson's been a leader. He's been worth every single dollar that we've given him in that contract. So I love him. And you got McKinney, who, in my opinion, is one of the best safeties in the league. And hopefully, they free up McKinney this year to be, more of like a free safety, just kind of like freewheeling out there, like he was like 2 years ago. He had some interceptions, and he had a lot of liberty out there in the secondary to just to use his instincts to get to the ball. And last year, I think he was used more kind of like a box, more in the box. I don't want to see that with him. He's a quality athlete. He's got great football instincts. I want him to have the liberty, McKinney, that is, to be more freewheeling, and I want to see that. I think that's what we're going to see more of this year. I hope, because that's what McKinney should be doing. But you look at Deontay Banks, McKinney, Adoree Jackson. Who knows? Maybe like Leonard Williams, maybe Jackson won't be here this year. Beyond this year, we'll see. I think he will. But Banks and McKinney give you nice young stability back there in the secondary. McKinney's already proven. I think McKinney's only going to get better and better. Banks is a rookie, so he still has to obviously prove himself. There's going to be a lot to prove. I get it. But I'm super, super psyched about Banks. And those are two young studs in your secondary. And I think Adoree Jackson, I think he will be around past, after this season. I do think he will be. But those are two great building blocks in the secondary with McKinney and Deontay Banks. Okay. And the last but not least, linebacking core. I'm so glad we got Bobby Okereke. The guy's been a tackling machine for the past few years. We got a good deal. I think it was like $10 million a year. And is he the best linebacker out there? No, but he's a quality linebacker. And honestly, I think we kind of got a deal with him. And if he's healthy, dude, we're only going to go up. We're only going to go up at the linebacker core. Yeah, if he's healthy, Bobby Okereke, and he plays like he should, and I have no reason to believe that he won't. Bobby Okereke is going to be a nice building block for the linebacking core. Again, I can only see us going up. Maybe Darren Beavers does come back this year, and maybe he does play like a really nice, solid inside linebacker, like the defensive coordinator was praising him to be last year. But really, it's only going to go up, guys. They're only going to add more and more talent over the next few years, and if not free agency, through the draft. So I'm really excited about it. We have quality players to build from, most of them very, very young on our defense. Again, Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Ojolari, Okereke, McKinney, Deontay Banks. I haven't even mentioned Cordell Flott, who I am super high on. I'm very, very high in Cordell Flott. So I think we've got key players on the defensive side of the ball to build from, guys. And I'm so psyched about it. I think we're in great shape on both sides of the ball. And like I said, I'm going to wrap up the show in a little bit. Guys, I know a lot of people are, understandably so, are like, ooh, I don't know how we're going to do in 2023. It's going to be a really difficult schedule. It is a difficult schedule. I'm telling you, I had a few weeks ago, I did, when the schedules first came out, I did my win-loss prediction. And right now, I'm still sticking with that. I had us getting 11 wins. I had us going 11-6, and I would expect us to make the playoffs of 11-6. Yeah, we play in a very very tough division, and I think every team in our division got better. Even the Eagles. The Eagles lost some players. I think they replaced them with even better players and younger players. Dallas leveled up. They had a quiet off season. They had a sneaky quality off season. Dallas. I'm telling you right now. And Washington, I like Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell's gonna be a lot better than people think. And they leveled up in talent too. And I think Sam Howell's gonna be a pretty good quarterback. I really do. Even his first year as a starter in 2023. I think Sam Howell, don't sleep on that dude. But our team has leveled up. We did a great job. This front office did a great job of spreading the money around, bringing shoring up some key holes, especially at linebacker. Um, and the wide receiving core, they brought in more talent, more speed, and what they did with the draft was fantastic. You could not ask for more. They got three legitimate potential starters in the draft, and Banks, Schmitz, and Hyatt. It was fantastic. It was a home run of a draft, second year in a row, home run of a draft. So, guys, there's so much to be excited about with this team. I'm telling you right now, I honestly mean this. This Giants team, it is only going up from here. This Giants team is only going up from 2022. 2023 is going to be an even better season. And I don't think we're going to take a step back in terms of record. Last year we went 9-7-1. I think this year we're going to go. At least we stay the same with this. We're going to go 9-8, which would be a little step back, because I don't think we're going to get another tie. But I think we're going to do better. I'm sticking with 11 wins for this Giants team in 2023, even though the schedule is very hard. Every team looks like they've gotten better in the offseason, and I think we're one of them. And I think we're actually better than a lot of people think. Just like last year, I think this team is more talented than people outside of the fan base realize. Just like last year, I thought last year, going into last year, I picked us to actually going into last season. I picked us to go 10-7. Going into the season last year, because I thought this team was more talented than people thought, and we didn't have the depth, or I thought we had better quality starters than people thought, and I felt that all it was going to take was legitimate coaching, and we got that in Brian Dable and his coaching staff. I'm telling you right now, I really feel strong about this. That I think we're going to have a minimum of 10 wins this year, but I'm going to go 11-6. I'm going to stick with that right now, unless injuries pile up in preseason. Right now, I feel really good with sticking with my 11-6 prediction, but I think it's a minimum of 10 wins. Again, I think our team is more talented than people outside of the fan base realize. We'll see. So anyway, guys, that's it for this week. I'm out here. If you can, just another friendly reminder, please hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell, give us that 5-star Apple review. All that really helps us to grow, to grow our subscribers. Really, really appreciate it. And an announcement: I am going to be on vacation next week in Maine, in beautiful, lovely Maine, next week with my family. So I may not have an episode. I may record an episode and set it to release for next Wednesday, and I may not. We'll see what my schedule allows, but I'll try to record an episode and set it to release for next week, but it may not happen. So again, if you don't see me next week, I will be back in 2 weeks. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. This is Joe. Have yourself a great week, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.